Related research. In general, Horney's theory has stirred only limited recent research. One topic that has generated some interest is her concept of hyper-competitiveness. Horney believed that the extremely competitive nature of American culture emphasizes winning at all costs, including aggressively manipulating, degrading, and exploiting other people. She called this exaggerated neurotic need to move against others hyper-competitiveness. Richard Rickman and his colleagues have used the hyper-competitive attitude, HCA, scale to investigate Horney's concept of hyper-competitiveness. This scale contains 26 items scored on a 5-point Likert scale. Thus, scores range from 26 to 130, with high scores indicating strong hyper-competitiveness. Sample items include winning in competition makes me feel more powerful as a person, and it's a dog-eat-dog world. If you don't get the better of others, they will surely get the better of you. Early research by Rickman and colleagues found strong support for Horney's theory of neurosis and hypercompetitiveness. That is, they found that the hypercompetitive person was more likely to be narcissistic, manipulative, and neurotic and to have low self-esteem. Later, Rickman suggested a distinction between HC and a more benign form of competitiveness, namely, personal development competitiveness, PDC, a form of competitiveness that involves ambition and achievement while focusing on a desire for personal growth and development. People high in personal development competitiveness do not achieve at the expense of others but rather with the help of others. Both forms of competitiveness involve ambition and achievement, but whereas HC is motivated by the desire to have power over others, personal development competitiveness is based on social concern and altruism. Rickman have developed a personal developmental competitiveness attitude, PDCA, scale, a 15-item inventory, with high scores indicating strong personal developmental competitiveness. Sample items include I value competition because it helps me to be the best that I can be, and I like competition because it teaches me a lot about myself. Horney argued that disturbed relationships between parent and child set into motion other disturbed relationships, and these sometimes last into adulthood. Romantic relationships, therefore, can also be affected by these conflict-filled interpersonal styles. More specifically, Horney believed that hypercompetitiveness would be one outcome of these disturbed relationships because hypercompetitive people compensate for low self-esteem by proving themselves superior to others. Rickman and his colleagues examined the relationship between hypercompetitiveness and romantic relationships. Participants were college undergraduates who were administered the Romantic Experiences Survey, the Love Styles Measure, the Hypercompetitiveness Attitude Scale, and questionnaires related to trust, control, empathy, and conflict. Results showed that participants who were highest on hypercompetitiveness had lower levels of honest communication, a tendency to inflict pain on their partner, and a high level of possessiveness, mistrust, control, and conflict. Interestingly, when asked how satisfied and committed to the relationship they were, hypercompetitive people did not differ from those low in hypercompetitiveness. Rickman and colleagues speculated that these surprising findings regarding commitment and satisfaction might be due to the limited alternatives and choice that hypercompetitive people have in starting new romantic relationships. A study by Scott Ross and colleagues used both the neurotic form of hypercompetitiveness as measured by the HCA and the benign personal development form of competitiveness as measured by the PDCA. Ross and colleagues examined the relationship between different kinds of competitiveness and the 5 basic personality dimensions of the 5-factor model, Costa and McRae, 1992. Based on previous research, Ross predicted that extroversion would be positively related to personal development competitiveness and that hypercompetitiveness would be positively related to neuroticism and negatively related to agreeableness. Participants were college students, 72% female, from a small liberal arts college in the Midwest. The measure of personality was the NEO-PIR, Costa and McRae, 1992, which consists of 240 items and measures 5 fundamental dimensions of personality: neuroticism, extroversion, openness to experience, agreeableness, and conscientiousness. In addition, the participants completed the HCA and the PDCA. Results showed that hypercompetitive individuals were more neurotic, anxiety-prone, and less agreeable, hostile, whereas students who scored high on the personal development form of competitiveness tended to be more extrovert. The association between hypercompetitiveness and neuroticism is quite consistent with Horney's theory of neurotic needs. In addition, the discrimination between hypercompetitiveness and personal development competitiveness is consistent with Horney's distinction between neurotic and normal aggression.